Hey everybody, welcome to the Dirt Road Tourist. So we have a new rooftop tent to try out, and this past weekend we decided to head to Uwharrie National Forest to do just that. It was a holiday weekend, the weather was absolutely beautiful, and we were eager to give this tent a try. It did not go well. Matter of fact, it did not go at all. But I'm going to get into that after the intro, so stick around. Hello and welcome. My wife Susan and I, we're on a mission to explore the byways of this country to find the food, the people, and even the odd stuff. We're exploring where the roads lead after you leave the interstates behind, and beyond where the roads end. Whether you're thinking about getting started overlanding or rocking a fully built rig, I'll be talking about the places we go and giving tips to make your journeys go smoother. And it all starts now on this episode of the Dirt Road Tourist. So yeah, weekend trip to Uwharrie. We like to go over there because it's only a couple of hours away from the house, so it makes for a fairly easy weekend jaunt. Like I said in the intro, we have this rooftop tent that we kind of wanted to put through its paces on a maiden voyage. And I like getting out over to Uwharrie because it frequently involves a stop at this place called Stubbs and Sons Barbecue in Carthage. And I really love the barbecue at this place. It's not full pit smoked. They do wood chip, so a lot of the barbecue aficionados might be kind of about that, but the barbecue is actually really good. And but the hush puppies, oh man, the hush puppies, it's probably some of the best I've had in the state. Anyway, I digress. I digress on food all the time. But we headed over here, and there's always been something about Uwharrie that I don't like as much. The nearness is convenient. It's a convenient place to go for a weekend, but there's an aspect of it that I don't like as much, and that's because it's not really a super overlandy place. There's not a lot of really exploring on these back roads or anything. Uwharrie is it's kind of a midden warren of off-road trails, and this place is an absolute magnet for the off-road crowd and for the side-by-side crowd. And I'm not trying to throw shade on the side-by-side guys, so don't at me, bro. But it tends to become be a victim of its own popularity sometimes, especially on a busy weekend. And I kinda had in the back of my mind, I knew this was coming because it was a holiday weekend, fall colors, beautiful weather. I knew it was gonna be busy over there. But we got over there, and when we were going through some of the Forest Service roads on our way in, right there at the Wolf's Den trailhead air down area, we ran into a traffic jam. We were literally sitting in line in a traffic jam trying to get through that parking area. And I took one look at this and I was like, this is already not looking good for camping. We didn't book a campsite. We were just kind of hoping to snag a dispersed spot over there. And I was already looking around and thinking that this is probably it's looking grim. So we decided to kind of tool around the Forest Service roads over there, looking at some of the campsites to see if there was anything to be found for love or money over there. And literally everything was full. If you didn't show up on Thursday to claim a campsite, you probably weren't going to get one on Saturday. So I decided that if we're going to tool around and look at every single one of the campsites around here on the Forest Service roads, I might as well open up Onyx and start plotting, dropping some waypoints, just so I know where all the campsites are. And I have kind of a little bit of a system about how I drop campsite pins. I've got a video that's going to be coming up. We are on YouTube, so if you want to see some of the videos that we put out, just look up Dirt Road Tourist on YouTube. We're out there, and I'm going to be doing kind of a tips and tricks on how I set up, how I lay down campsite pins and map out campsites in Onyx. So look out for that coming your way. But we got through tooling around all the different dispersed sites. I got a whole bunch of pins mapped on that. And I was like, well, let's just go through. There's like 3 campgrounds in the area. Let's go through the Arrowhead and the Bowden Lake ones just to see if any of the first come, first serve sites are available. I already knew the answer. before we even headed that way, but decided to go ahead and run through the loops just to see if there was anything that could be snagged out there. And, the whole time I was thinking to myself, even if we were to find a dispersed site, even if we were to find, one of the first come, first served sites at one of the campgrounds, I'm looking around at what I see here. And again, this is one of the things that kind of on busy weekends, it has reared its head before when we've been on trips over to Uwharrie, is that when it's that busy, and I was looking around and I'm thinking this is going to be nothing but side by side engines running at red line, Leonard Skinner at 150 decibels, and random gunfire until about 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is one of the first times that we've ever actually headed on an overlanding trip or a camping trip to a particular area. And I've looked around and I looked over at Susan and was like, nope. Just nope. So we would have probably headed to someplace a little further afield to see if we could find something that wasn't quite so overrun. But if we were a little bit further away from the house, that would have probably been the game plan to try to, salvage the weekend and find some place that we can camp. But because we're only a couple of hours from the way from the house, I was just like, you know what? Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor, and sometimes you just got to know when to fold the tents and take it back to the house. So that is exactly what we did. We've got plans to head out this next weekend to a place that's a little less traveled, a little more away from stuff, away from people. And I've got some video that I want to snag for the aforementioned video that I'm going to be talking about on X. And we're just going to look to try to do a fresh reset, and get this trip done next weekend. We're going to head up to a place in Virginia. Again, let me back up and say I'm not throwing any shade on Uwharrie, not throwing any shade on the side-by-side crowds and the off-road crowds. But for us, typically, we're trying to get away from the tumult and tumult of civilization and find a little patch of peace and serenity when we go out. So a forest frat party does not sound like something that really appeals to us. So we're usually trying to get away from all that kind of stuff. It was just a little bit of an unusual happening for me because it's the first time we've ever been out somewhere where I'm just thinking, I don't even want to figure out how to make this weekend work. I'd rather just take it back to the house and watch Florida State figure out how to lose yet another football game this year. And oh my God, don't even get me down that tangent. It's not a sports show, but folks, it's been pretty bad this year. If you know, you know. So moving on from the weekend that wasn't, and folks, by the way, if this episode starts to sound a little bit choppy, kind of like it wasn't recorded all in one session and was heavily edited, that will be because it was our yard crew decided to show up right in the middle of me recording this. And so I just decided to sit out while the weed eaters and everything and the mowers were going around the house. And I thought they were done. And then it started up again. So they were actually doing some more work on that. So I did kind of have to chop this one up a little bit and do some fits and starts on it. So if you're hearing that, that's kind of why that happened. Anyway, like I said, moving on to the next topic right here this is the time of year when I'm starting to look at where I want to go for overlanding events next year. And I typically try to aim for about 3 of them. And the Southeast Overland Camping event over in Brushy Mountain, Tennessee is always going to be one of those. I usually show up for that one every year just simply because it's one of my favorite events that happens here in the Southeast. This last year I had actually made plans to go in June for the Kentucky what is it, Kentucky Adventure Expo, something like that. It's the one that's in southern Kentucky. They had the inaugural event 2 years ago, and we're supposed to be doing it again in June this year, but it was the event that kind of never ended up happening. I had myself on the mailing list to see when they were going to do it, and I figured they were going to have one again because everybody that attended said it was a great event last year, but it just kind of trailed off into silence. I don't know if they're planning on circling back around and taking another swing at that next year. I'd like to attend it if it's going to happen, but based upon this year, I'm not, entirely confident that that is going to come off. If it does, I'll go. but we'll see. Anyway, so I'm trying to look at what other events that I might want to attend next year. So looking into that. If there's some that happen around the Southeast, around the Carolinas, Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, in that area that you know of that are really fun to go to, drop me a line, drop me a comment, and let me know in the comments what I might want to be looking at. I know the rooftop tent rally in the James River State Park up in Virginia that usually happens in October. That's usually a kind of a good time. I've been to that one once and would like to go to that one again, so I might put that one on my list for next year. I've never been to the Overland Expo East. That one is kind of tends to be pricey to go out there. I don't know. It's kind of hard to justify $400, especially when I'm not really shopping for gear at this point. Got the trucks largely dialed in where I want it. We'll see whenever we get this tent out there, but just the setup and breakdown that I've done around here and checking how it flows with all the other gear on the truck, everything seems to be kind of dialed in where I want it. So I'm not really in the market at this point. I'm not really shopping for a whole lot of gear or thinking about doing anything to my rig, at least not for a while. I like it where I got it, and I kind of want to take some time and just use what I've got for a while, simply because I've gotten rid of all the pain points that I had on the rig. So I don't know if I want to spend $400 to go out and hit that particular expo, but we'll see. That might be one that I put on there. The other problem with the Overland Expo is that it falls right there in September. It's right around the time when, because Labor Day is, we always take one of our big trips, our big overlanding trips is going to be over the Labor Day week, simply because we get a free PTO day built in on that week, so we only end up having to take 4 in order to get the whole week off. And this year for Labor Day, we're planning on going up towards New Hampshire. Yeah, it's New Hampshire where it starts to do the BDR, the Northeast BDR. So we're going to, head all the way up there and start running the BDR south back towards the direction of the house. So we have a shorter trip on the end. And that's going to happen the first week in September. So it gets a little hectic if I'm going to be doing an overlanding event that also falls in September, especially if I'm thinking about doing another overlanding event that's in October. That's kind of a lot of stuff back to back to back to make happen. So I don't know. I'm kind of trying to figure out kind of piecemeal what I'm going to be doing in terms of events and in terms of trips. So we're going to be doing one trip down to Florida, and that's going to be an overland related trip. That's going to happen in the spring. And then we're going to be doing the BDR from the Northeast BDR in early September. So I'm trying to figure out what I can fit in between those trips and what kind of works to keep a kind of a good pace to where I'm not like overloading myself with a bunch of back to back trips. Anyway, if there's anything that you can think of that might fit in with that maybe I haven't thought about, like I said, drop me a comment and let me know. I'll check it out. Moving on. It is that time of year, folks. It's that time of year when we start thinking about Christmas gifts that we want to buy for our loved ones. And when people start surreptitiously asking, hey, what can I buy this person? So I kind of thought that I might do this little segment right here because I always have some family and friends that ask my wife, what can I get Ken? Because apparently I'm kind of hard to buy for. So I wanted to talk about a few things that I actually have on my wish list, and no, I'm not doing. If you're just a listener out there and you don't know me, I'm not doing this trying to troll for gifts from my listeners. I just know that my friends and family all listen to my podcast, so I'm going to save you the trouble of having to ask Susan. And here's some ideas for you. But I also figured that anything that I might want would be something that any overlander would like to find under the Christmas tree on December 25th themselves. So I'm just going to kind of go through a list of some things that might be a great gift idea for the overlander in your life as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about, I was looking at these on Amazon, and it's called Rock Dove, Rockdove, men's campground memory foam down slippers. And these are 25 bucks, but they're kind of a puffer jacket type of a texture on the top like this, and they have a memory foam insole and then a hard bottom outsole. And having something like a slipper for the campground, it would be great for those nights when you have to climb down the ladder and walk out into camp in order to answer the call of nature, or in the morning whenever you get up and you're going to go down and make some coffee. Just having something warm, something waterproof and something warm that you can slip onto your feet, or rather than having to lace up boots in order to do all this, would be really handy thing to have. It's something that I've kind of had on my radar here, but again, I haven't bought that because apparently I'm difficult to buy for and I need to leave some fruit on the tree there. So that was one thing that I was looking at. Another great item for the overlander on your list would be these things called Okupa hand warmers, and that's spelled OCOOPA. You can find them on Amazon. They're about 27 bucks in that neighborhood right there. These are electric rechargeable hand warmers, and I've heard about these. I've actually heard some reviews on these, and you get several hours, a number of hours actually, out of these things, depending on what level you actually have them running at. But they're great for throwing into the pocket of a hoodie or something like this, and you don't have to run them on a super high heat. Even if it's really cold out there, what you really need is just something that's, a little bit warmer out there that you can actually throw your hands into that pocket and just kind of get your hands warmed up. They're really handy. They're magnetic, so they stick together whenever you're not using them. You just take them, they magnet together. They're small enough to be able to throw into a drawer system somewhere and keep them handy on the rig. But for if you have an overlander that on your list that lives in a cold weather environment or someplace where they get a winter and they like to go out and do winter camping, this might be a really good idea for them. Be a really good idea for me because it's something that I've had on my list for a little while. Another great small item right here that would be good. It's called the Gerber Stakeout. It's a multi-tool. Has a carabiner clip that you can hang off of your belt loop. Has a number of tools that are handy, and it's specifically designed for camping. So it has one of the tools that comes out as a little hook that you can extend and reach down and pull out tent stakes. So it's great, has a blade, has a number of the tools that you would want. It's like an 11-in-1 multi-tool, and it has some tools that are handy for just various tasks that you have to do in camp. That runs about 30 bucks, so that would be a great idea for the overlander and camper in your life. So another thing that would be a great idea, there's one here made by Yefu, Yefu. Don't ask me. It's one of those Chinese brands right here. But they make a tabletop fire pit. We already have a regular wood fire pit that's one of the raised fire pits, but it's a 22-inch and it's great. We absolutely love it, but sometimes that's a little bit big. It takes up a lot of room in the bed of the truck for one thing. So having something that's a little bit smaller, this one is a 9.7 by 7.1 inch. So it's more of a tabletop size, but one of the little tabletop fire pits is great. You go down to uh, some place like Tractor Supply, they sell fuel pellets, and that's the most common thing that you burn in these smaller pits right here. Is you dump some of these fuel pellets in and it burns. But it's a perfect size for two people who are out camping, that you can actually set your chairs kind of close together, drop this fire pit in between them, and you get the heat off of that. And it's just a nice small size, has a little carry bag that you can throw into the bed, doesn't take up a whole lot of space, but provides you with a nice, natural wood fire that you can do. You can either use the fuel pellets, or if you've got a chainsaw and you're feel so inclined at home, you can get regular firewood and just cut it down into chunks, or get wood chunks in order to be able to put in there. Great idea for a Christmas gift. Hint, hint. They run about $32, $33. So that one, or at least that's what it's running right now. So that would be a great idea for a Christmas gift for an overlander. Another thing that's really, really popular, you see these a lot, are the telescopic camping lights. And there is one that is made by, let me find it on the list here. Uwharrie makes one. It's an upgraded telescopic camping light. It's a 15,600 milliamp hour. It has it's a stand that you can actually put the feet out, and then it telescopes up, and it provides light all around the campsite. So this is great for just being able to have it charged up, take it out of the rig, throw it down on the ground right here and telescope it up, and you've got kind of like a street light around your campsite. They're really popular. The lights are actually, there are three of them on the top of the telescoping pole, and you can angle those in different directions. So depending on where you want to be throwing your light out around camp, this can actually accommodate it. That runs 60 bucks. Great gift idea for the overlander on your list. Another great gift idea for an overlander would be a good, not just a first aid kit, but what you really want to look for is something like an IFAC trauma kit. And there are a number, there's a ton of them. Some of them are junk, some of them are actually really good, but a good trauma kit. I have a first aid kit. I actually have two first aid kits on the truck, and they're more or less kind of basic, generic. I mean, you've got band-aids, you've got the burn cream, you've got the antiseptic wipes, gauze, and some things like that for, if you get a boo-boo, that's great. But being that this is a vehicular form of travel and there are the inherent dangers that are associated with any kind of vehicular travel, whether it's on the highway or whether it's on a back road or a back trail, accidents can and do happen sometimes. And especially in the case of overlanding, you might be out somewhere where help is a pretty good distance and time away. So some of the things that you might find in a really good trauma kit may mean the difference between life and death. So having a properly equipped first aid kit is a really you could say it's a good idea, but many will tell you it's a definite necessity to have on your rig if you're going to be doing this. So if you know somebody that's out there, they don't have or they haven't thought of a good trauma kit, that might be something worth shopping for and putting under their tree. It might not be something that they would buy for themselves, but it's peace of mind if they have that out there and they have a need for something like that come up. That's a great gift idea. One of the things that I have on my list, now this is getting a little bit higher up on the money side, is I've been looking at some mounted radios, a mounted GMRS radio that you put inside the cab. It has looks like a CB radio, but they're smaller. The one that I'm looking at is the Radioddity DB25G GMRS mobile radio. I've seen some reviews on this. I've watched some YouTube videos on it. It gets really good reviews. Runs right about the $100 mark. It's a 25-watt two-way radio, GMRS radio. We already have a pair of handhelds, and I'd like to have kind of like a base station. So if you're thinking about maybe this might be something you want to shop for the Overlander in your life, here's a simple rule of thumb. They may already have a base station mounted inside the cab of the truck or inside the vehicle. If they already have that, but they don't have a pair of handhelds, they definitely would appreciate a pair of handhelds, because if somebody needs to jump out of the rig and go spot or something like this, it really, having a handheld and one of the base stations inside makes communication back and forth between two people, for, one that's spotting and one that's driving. It makes the communication a whole lot easier for them. If they already have handhelds, then definitely one, but they don't have a base station, then look at something like that. But having both ends of that equation on a rig is definitely a must-have. I don't have a base station mounted in the truck yet, but it's something that I've definitely had on my list of something I've wanted to look at for a while. And you can pick them up for anywhere from about $100 to about $200 for a decent one that they can actually mount in their rig. Is something that makes for a great gift idea. Here's another good one. I have actually in my wish list right here. It's the King Camp, KINGCAMP, King Camp Down Camping Blanket. And it's basically the same material as like a puffer jacket. It looks like a puffer jacket, but it's a blanket. And I've kind of been put this on my list right here. They run about 50 bucks. And we have a diesel heater. We also have a flannel lined sleeping bag that just stays up in our rooftop tent. And that, that's great for down into the 50s or so. And then, if it's really going to be cold, we use the diesel heater and that'll run you out if all you have up there is a sheet that you're laying under. But you run into these nights where you're kind of on the borderline on the bubble between, is it cold enough for my sleeping bag system, or is it so cold that I need to break out the diesel heater? And sometimes you're kind of on the bubble. There's a pretty wide margin in there where neither one of them is really going to work. If you're just relying on that flannel sleeping bag up there, you're going to be cold all night. But if you break out the diesel heater, you're going to sweat your what off all night long. So having one of these little packable blankets, lightweight blanket, when they pack down into a little tiny bag, you can throw it up into the bed and in your gear, and they don't take up a whole lot of room. But having something like that to be able to pull out, throw on top of the existing sleeping bag that we keep up there, just to be able to kind of get you through those nights that are on the bubble a little bit, where it's not cold enough to break out the diesel heater, that would be a really great addition to the rig. Again, they run about 50 bucks. It's made by King Camp, which is we've had several of their things. We've had their mattresses before. They make great stuff. And this would be a great gift for the Overlander on your list right here, because it's something versatile. It's something that even if it's a chilly night, you're sitting down in your chairs, you want to wrap it around your shoulders or something, you can use this in a multitude of different ways. So it'd be something, it's a $50 gift that would be handy for anybody that does this kind of stuff on the regular. Another thing I want to throw on this list would be the Wuben. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's Wuben. Wuben E7 little flashlight. This thing is tiny. Um, It is powered by a rechargeable battery, so it actually has a USB-C port that you can recharge this thing, or you can buy spare batteries. They are the basic type of batteries that you can put on a charger. They're kind of like the e-cig batteries or a flashlight battery that are rechargeable. So you can carry multiple of these batteries. But the thing is really tiny. It's about 2 inches long. It's only about an inch wide and has two lights, has a number of different brightness settings on it. So there's one that's perfect for just kind of looking around in a bag at night or something like this, and you just need enough light to be able to see what you're looking at. But if you turn it on to the bright setting, oh my God, this thing is like surface of the sun bright, and it has a really, really good throw and a good wide throw. It's not a narrow spot beam. So this is perfect for camping. It's got a little belt clip on it, so you can actually hang it off your belt and turn it on. And sometimes I'll just walk around with it that way, and leave it casting forward so I can see where I'm going. But it'll also clip onto a hat brim. And by the way, folks, if any of my family is listening on this one, I already have this, but I put it on there because I find it so handy. The other handy thing about this light is that it has a magnetic base to it, so you can actually stick it on the side of a body panel on the vehicle or under the hood or something like this if you're working on there, and it provides plenty of light to be able to see what you're needing to do in a dark situation on there. So these lights run about 25 bucks. And they're absolutely fantastic. Matter of fact, family and friends, if you're listening out there, if you want to buy me another one of these things for Christmas, have at it. I'd be more than happy to have two of them because they are really that good. I love this flashlight. So that's another thing to look at. If you have an overlander in your life and you don't know what to get them and they're kind of hard to shop for, maybe you don't know anything about overlanding, it's not your bag, but you're looking to shop for them. Definitely check out one of those lights. Would be a $25 little stocking stuffer gift that would be perfect for the overlander in your life. So If there's anything that I've left out of here that might be a great stocking stuffer or a gift for the Overlander that you can think of, hey, drop me a note in the comments. Let me know what you think on there. Maybe there's something that I haven't put on my list that maybe I should be thinking of to drop some more subtle hints to the people in my life that are looking for what should we buy Ken, because he's so hard to purchase gifts for. Anyway, that was my holiday edition. This is something I thought to add on here. Not as a shameless plug for gifts, unless you're my mother-in-law and you always ask Susan, I don't know what to get Ken. Well, Maggie, now you know. So anyway, but I thought this might be useful for, anybody that's listening out there has some gift ideas for themselves or for their family or for some of the, overlanders in their life. But these are things that would be welcomed by just about anybody if they don't already have it. And even if they do, they would probably definitely welcome having a second one of them. So anyhow, I hope that helps. That's about all I've got for this show, all I got to talk about this week. I'll be back on my next episode. I'm sure I'll be talking about our trip up to Virginia and what the results were from our new Nature Nest tent. It is a brand new Nature Nest wedge tent that we got. So we're definitely eager to give that a try. Didn't get a chance to do it this last weekend, so definitely going to be wanting to try that out this next weekend. And I'll be talking about that the next time I drop an episode here. In the meantime, I hope everybody here has a great week and go see something amazing.